Hi there, and welcome back to the Fuse Show. Today we have Raj. Raj is the founder and CEO of Utobo Inc. Today's title for the episode is We Need More Social Engineers Than AI Engineers, and our tagline is Let's focus on building a more inclusive society before we invite AI to be a part of it. Raj is the founder and CEO of Utobo Inc., headquarters in California. His personal mission statement is to craft the future of education where learning will be economical, collaborative, intuitive, and fun. He's developed over 25 pieces of software with a combined user base of over 10 million users. And he's also a Founder Institute alumni and a member of Founder Lab and AWS EdStart. Thanks for joining us on the show, Raj.
Hey, David, thanks so much for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here.
So let's get started with a definition of what you mean by some of the things that you suggested prior. Well, how do you define a social engineer?
I think social engineers are the one who defines, basic rules and regulations and how one should behave in the society, and which probably like it's my personal definition. I'm not going by the books, right? So I feel that like social engineers are those people who has who can create some sort of guide, for society on each and every aspect of the society. So that's what I call social engineering, right? So if you are a programmer, you would, if you are trying to build a software, you have to define each and every segment of that particular software, right, in a way that
Mhm.
is user friendly, and people should be able to say once it comes live, people should get benefited out of it, right? People should not get left out or being confused on something, or you are trying to do something else, and the result comes out completely different, right? So
Mhm.
in a similar way, social engineers job should be creating a society, right, wherein like it's for all, so that feeling should come.
And within the scope of society, I imagine that there's almost unlimited scope when you think about all things in the domain of how people should behave in society. Which portion are you most interested in?
Right. So my personal belief is that like something which guides daily behavior is what I'm more interested in,
Mm.
because it may be possible that you could be doing some task like going to daily shops and going to traveling through bus, or taking public transport on a daily basis. There might
Hmm.
be some sort of task which you might be doing once in a while, like probably once in a month you might visit a government office, so
Hmm.
that's a different part of it. So it totally depends, but I would be more focused on like the part where we probably have to face those particular things on a daily basis.
So, in terms of daily basis, what's something that you have in your daily routine that you wish was more optimized or had more clarity around?
Right. So right now, basically, I'm in India. So I'll not talk about right. So I have never been to states, so I'll not talk about how exactly the things happens in North America. But I feel that like even if you're say in terms of I'll take like in terms of COVID-19, right? So like sometimes when the society is not inclusive, or you don't understand the societal structure well, sometimes
Hmm.
like you create some sort of guidelines, right, which probably is not very clear to all. It may be language specific issue. It may be issue which is related to people not being like not being able to understand the message well, right? It may be issue in the implementation. It may be issue in the people, how they are exactly perceiving it, because the message is not very clear, right? So I think with this COVID-19 scenario specifically, uh, these all the things should be very inclusive. If you are living in particular state, or if you are living anywhere, that message which you are sending should be for all, and the
Hmm.
guidelines which you are creating has to be extremely clear and well thought of, and put it in a way that can be implemented well. So you don't have to just take care of the messaging part, or like the part wherein you are just trying to implement things. You have to engineer it. By like what I mean by engineering is that like you have to see to whom you are going to hire for doing that particular job, or the job which you are assigning to an individual, whether how much capable one is, like after that, whether that person is hiring the right folks or not. All right. on the implementation side, whether there is feedback loop, like feedback channels is created in a way that you are exactly able to know whether the policy is being implemented or not, right? So I think these are the things which I like to literally focus, because this is very important, and especially when like you get so much distorted messages around
Mhm.
internet right now, you are not able to actually get the real message which people are going to deliver. It has become increasingly challenging right now in this phase to get that clear message from like anyone per se.
So I think the problem is definitely something we can all see in the world, and I imagine a lot of politicians argue about the best way to execute and bring to reality solutions. What is what do you see your role in like life to be in addressing this problem, however fractional you choose to tackle it?
Right. So for me, I personally believe that like the value in the society which you are going to inculcate, that has to start from right from the beginning when a kid go to school. I'm an edtech entrepreneur, right? So I'll first brief about what Utobo is. So Utobo is a cloud-based platform which helps educators and coaching service providers to teach online, create content, and monetize it, right? So what we are trying, what we are trying to build, basically, Bill Gates has spoken once about, the the value of feedback channels in education system. He pointed out that it's completely missing, right? And I personally think that like we have we have so much, like we have a lot of technologies, education technologies which has come up recently, right? Everyone is teaching online.
Hmm.
Like now kids have literally phones and tabs, and they're just studying through it. But what is the actual learning outcome, right? That's really important. What is the actual learning outcome? We are not able to get that. Why we are not
Hmm.
able to get actual learning outcome? Because that is not being implemented anywhere. Whatever you have learned it, but how you are going to cross verify that whether that learning can be implemented somewhere? There's no way, right? And then once, like it whatever you learn at the beginning of your life, you definitely change it. I'm not saying that it's impossible to change it, but that value system, if you are habitual of doing something. Say for an example, I've heard that like in navies, soldiers are usually taught some basic principles, such as once you get up, you have to fold your own bed, or
Yeah.
and then that's how you're gonna start the day, right? So this is a very normal routine you see, but it's very important to create that culture where everyone is doing that. It automatically gets into your head, and then once you wake up, you do that, and it gives you a feeling of completeness. Similarly, when you teach a student something at the very beginning in the school, right, it creates an impression in mind that lasts forever, right, in most of the cases. And these students, when they grow up, they are part of that value creation, that value system, which is engineered well. So, for me, I'm majorly focusing on, probably creating a feedback channel wherein, we literally can get that learning outcome, out of that, like all the students, and should be able to send them message which is extremely clear. There should not be ifs and buts. There should not be any, distortion. It has to be particularly, well thought of, put in a way that, everyone can get it. So that's what I'm trying to create.
Can you provide an example for where you feel like education currently is unclear?
All right. So say for an example, let's talk around the world, right? What is the course completion rate in online, online platforms? It
It's like
is
less than 10%, something like that. Yeah.
right. It explains itself why it is so low. Are people not interested enough to go through the content? Are they not able to talk to their peers like they used to do in a physical classroom, right? Or they're facing any fatigue, right? Or they're just not getting the content? What
Okay.
exactly, right? Can you, like, so when you go deep down, you would understand that now we have to go more personalized on the learning side, right? In the era of TikTok and Instagram, it's just like you can't focus more than 15 seconds or 30 seconds to watch anything. This is really ridiculous. Like you just do snap snap snap, and like you just you can't focus on anything. You're getting multiple messages. Like one video you might about you watch might about like it might be about politics. One might be about sports. It may be about some culture. It may be anything like nature. So where exactly is your focus? When you try to learn something, you have to be extremely focused on that particular content. You have to put a lot of hours to master any subject. And if you are
Right.
not going to master it, if you are not going to understand it fully, if it would be then you would have just half knowledge. Okay. And which is extremely dangerous, I think. Right. And again, like about the like a lot of lapses which you see in online education system, it's just it has become sales driven.
Right.
Right? So it has become sales driven. What like what big education companies are doing right now is just like you're creating content, you've created pretty sound videos, like hire the best teachers probably in the world, or like the celebrity teachers of a particular segment. You created videos and you have hired multiple sales team and you're just selling it, right? This is what is happening, right?
Mhm.
But see, like I personally believe that like something which your teacher say might have told you, in 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 your classroom, that hey, you have a great potential, you can do something, and that really gets into your head, and like that
Mhm.
never that is always there in your brain, that like uh, it's just like teacher has a very profound impact in your life, which I
Mhm.
strongly feel, you know. And I'll give an example. Probably everyone would be able to correlate. You know, um, um, go and watch a Netflix series called Cobra Kai. All right, so you would be able to see the kind of impact a teacher has in a student's mind, and how exactly that impact is playing a role in day-to-day life even after years, right? So this is why I think that personal touch, um, and like a sort of a healthy conversation and meaningful conversation between teacher and a student is extremely critical factor, and among the group as well, right? Extremely critical factor for students to learn and grow, and it has to be personalized. So the thing is that like you can't measure everyone with the same parameter, right? You
Mhm.
can't. It's like you can't measure a fish ability, to fly, like, or bird's ability to swim.
Right.
Like it's completely, that's a wrong factor of evaluation. So like you have to personalize it well. Some students might be pretty good in like mathematical stuff, but they're not good in like some other subjects. Like they might not like be good in history, or like say biology, right? So you gotta like understand the kind of learning curve which every student has, and personalize the whole content. And then the most important thing is that you have to provide and build a support system and a feedback system wherein students would be able to communicate directly with the teacher. I know, like, for sure, there are multiple teachers around the world, who doesn't have access of the technologies, and I bet you
Mhm.
that they can take bullet for their students. They love
Mhm.
their students so much they can literally take bullet for them. They love them, they care for them, they genuinely help them grow. And these are the teachers who create society, not the sales-driven organization, big
Right. Right.
organization, right? And what we are trying to do is to help these educators who has literally put 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years of their life teaching students. They understand the sentiments of students. They can literally relate with like those students, right? So our prime focus is to bring technology to them, to help reach out to all the students, and create that same environment which like they used to like do in a physical class environment.
So you named a couple of problems about the current transition to digital education. You named a lack of either focus or intrinsic motivation in students. You named the marketing of a bunch of online courses being very salesy, very kind of hype heavy, as opposed to like core content heavy. And then you also mentioned the component of personalization, where you feel like it's the teacher's role that leads to the growth of the student. How are you trying to tackle all three of these problems and more in your platform? Or are you trying to focus specifically on the personalization component?
I like to focus more on basically two components, which is I see like extremely critical. So number one is of course the feedback channel, and number two is personalization. The reason like I see the feedback channel is extremely important. I have been a student, right? I have taught in a pretty good engineering college in India, right? And a lot of my family members are teachers, apparently, right? So I do understand how critical the feedback is. You know, what happens is that if there are say 40 or 50 students in a classroom, right, and you're delivering a lecture of say 40 minutes, okay, and after that you are like you are asking a student. It usually happens a lot in India, right? You're just asking a student whether you got the concept or not, right? And what about the students who are shy for
Hmm.
multiple reasons? They won't be able to speak.
Hmm.
you know what about the students who are who are pretty good at in getting the concept, but like they have that willingness to learn more about the same topic, and they want like your extra office hours wherein they can literally go and deep dive on that particular segment, right? So until unless you are going to hear them, until unless you are literally what about those students who are really not fond of learning that subject and really slow on that
Hmm.
specific subject? It may be that they are performing really really well in other subjects, but for multiple reasons they are not performing well in a particular subject, right? So until unless you have that clear feedback from the students, it's extremely difficult. That like it's not just applicable for students, it's applicable to teachers also. All right.
Hmm.
I'll tell you one particular thing which I really like. you know you might be like extremely knowledgeable there, or and you probably know a lot of things about that particular subject, which probably like um, but when it comes to teaching, you're not able to explain them well. Who is going to give you feedback, right? You think that you are amazing. You might be right. Of course you might be right that you are amazing. You know a lot of things about the subject, but
Hmm.
delivering that content in a way that your audience can understand is a whole lot of different game.
Right.
It's not the same thing that you know something and you are delivering like the and you're thinking that you are delivering the same thing and people are able to understand. I'll give an example of like the Big Bang Theory, where when Sheldon Cooper goes to teach, right, and people are like, what the hell is talking about, right? They're like super confused, and everyone was like like Sheldon Cooper sucks, right? So all I'm trying to say is that the feedback channel is not only for students and not only for their understanding and learning curve. It has to be applicable for teachers as well, wherein like teachers should be able to get that like whether they're going too fast, whether they're going too slow, whether the content is not engaging enough, or like it's too deep for those particular students, or it's not.
Hmm.
You literally have to understand, analyze the whole audience base, and then like as I think the best teacher is someone who knows their student pretty well, all the students pretty well, and probably can bring down the content to a level where it is benefiting to most of them. Someone who knows a lot of things and just going and showing off is not a great teacher,
Hmm.
right? You're not there to show your intelligence. You are going to impart the knowledge and grow the student. So this is why I think feedback is very critical, right?
Are you trying to make a platform where teaching is in the digital space is more effective than in the physical space? Is that your goal?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So this is where the personalization, like model comes up, right? So what I'm saying is that I wanna create a system wherein we would be using the online mode, right? You would be creating content, you would be reaching out to as many audience as possible, all right? You would definitely do that, but at the same time, it has to be adaptive and personalized, right? You have to literally create a feedback channel wherein they can, or a support channel wherein they can literally immediately give you feedback that like, hey, I have this. Say for example, you are going through a video and you didn't understand that specific part. All right, just mark it down that I didn't understand this. Okay, and then I'll tell you, like, once you have watched this particular video, you have a lot of doubts, so you should be able to raise a support request, or you should be able to chat with the available faculty members then and there. All right. Say for example, you're facing some language issue, or you're not able to um, get the pronunciation right. It may be the complete language issue altogether. All right. So you have to figure out a way, like, to probably use some sort of like technology wherein you can change the content in a way that people would be able to understand, like most of the people would be able to understand, you know and then the personalization, like, part comes of wherein you should be able to analyze the sentiment of students, right? So say for example, if you can't go and talk to every student, though the ideal scenario would be that you'd be like, you should be able to send the polls after each and every class, after each and every sessions, when a student watch a video. Say for example, you have completed chapter 1, you should immediately get the poll after that. Hey,
Hmm.
they might be, as well as 5 questions, just simply asking, like 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 you can simply ask, did you understand the concept? Like, how do you rate your experience? How do you rate your teacher? Like, did you face a particular issue, right? With which was the pitch high? Like, did you face, like, a language issue, or it's not like you're not able to understand it completely, anything, or a random message which you can send to teacher, right? So after watching each and every video, you have to give this particular poll or feedback system, wherein once you receive the feedback from, say, 50 students, then the data should be shown, like, hey,
Mhm.
so out of that 50 students, like, say 40% of students think that the content was good, but 5 student was neutral, and then 5 students, they literally didn't get anything, right? And then you can say that, like, um, for say 30 students, the pitch was normal, and the speed was normal, but 20% student thought it was bit, like, you have to, like, little slow down, like, when you're speaking. It might be issue when, say for example, uh, a different country teacher is teaching in a different country, and it usually happens that, like, the pitch is bit slow, or like a bit high, right? So you have to understand how they're reacting. And like, probably you can give more personalized, gamified level questions. Say for example, hey, so I talked about this particular scenario. Can you like, what's your understanding about that particular scenario? Can you give some certain examples? So you have to teach students to come up with their own theories and
Hmm.
their own examples after each and every sessions. It's not just the consumption of those particular video. It's not going to teach a damn thing.
Do you have a target age range in mind for your platform in terms of the students?
Right. So for now, we are majorly focusing on, like, I would say K-12 plus, as in, like, probably undergrads and graduate and professionals, right? So we are focusing on educators and coaching service providers who are mainly focusing on, K-12 plus, some sort of competitive exams, or like, I would say, graduates preparing to get into land into a job, or giving examinations
Hmm.
like CPA, right? Or GMAT or GRE. So we are focusing more over on that right now.
I think that's effectively almost the full spectrum of education. Like, I agree with your principles that there's a lot of self awareness and a lot of details that are missing in the traditional education system, particularly when it comes to like the feedback loop between the student and the teacher. The challenge that I imagine is the fact that it takes a very keen and astute student who is very self aware and very self driven to be able to identify when they don't understand something and also recognize they don't understand something because of something that the teacher did versus something that they have not put in the time themselves. Like I look back on my education, I feel like a bunch of the times I didn't do well in the class, it's just because I didn't put in the effort. Um, Thankfully, I grew out of that as I was like, I guess probably around like high school, college age. But I feel like when I was in like all the way up to high school, I don't know if I had the capacity to identify when I didn't understand something and wanted help and had the courage to ask for help. I feel like that's quite the jump for a lot of the call it K through 8 range. Do you find that to be like there's so many other factors at play that could affect the educational experience, like I don't know, a child's environment at home that may like skew the results. Like how do you like take all that into play?
Right. So I think this is where facial recognition system and AI will play a major important role. You have
Hmm.
to create a probably when there will be a lot of development which will be happening in this particular field. There are certain schools which has already implemented. I totally get it. Like sometimes it happens that you know um, you're not paying attention, or you're not able to just you're just blank.
Right,
It
right,
happens to possibly everyone, you know so the facial recognition system should be able to read that, you know in a when you are on a video call, when you're learning, right? It should be able to give that oral analysis of like how much basically it will tell you the focus time, right? Say for example, if it was 40 minutes class, and 20 minutes you're focusing, and 20 minutes you were not, right? 10 minutes you were happy, and after that you lost, right? Because
okay.
the initial conversation was really good for you, and after that, when actually it came to problem solving and case studies, you didn't get it, right? So
And this is all based off the webcam feed, is that right?
yes, it has to be. Like now we don't have, like we would be definitely bringing that in future, but now we don't have it. But I'm
Okay.
saying that it's that whole technology is moving towards this, the more personalized and more say sentiment focused and learning outcome focused education system. So yeah, so that would be the ideal solution for that, if it is being used for good. So
So I think during COVID, a lot of digital education makes sense, but I think a lot of parents would be hesitant to put their kids through a like full-time digital education. How do you see the future growth of your company as more people are being vaccinated in the world? Do you see it more focusing on the graduate, postgraduate section for like exam preparation versus K through 12, or what's your vision?
right. So I said, like I think there was some misunderstanding. I said
Okay,
we are focusing on undergraduates and graduates, not the
I
K.
see, I see,
When I
I
said
see, I see.
yeah.
Okay.
So for now, like I think we'll be more focusing on that initially, but we might bring out some specific product to the K-12 segment. But when I talk about um, I think this shift which has happened is not temporary; it's permanent. Okay, so all the CEOs and all the education world leaders have been talking that like we need digital transformation, we need more to adopt technology. But
Hmm.
actually, like when the pandemic hit, like the 5 years of worth of transformation happened just in 5 months,
Hmm.
and people just adopted whatever the tools which they were getting, right, to teach online, and they're just still like coping up with the syllabus and figuring out how to like deal with all these bigger technologies. So this is the current stage which I'm telling you. All right, so this
I
is
see.
what is happening right now. Okay, so they don't like most of them have not fully understood like the effectiveness which they can bring using technology in the education system. All right, because
Hmm.
it's not well thought of decision of bringing technology. It was done in hurry. But when it will evolve, when like it will become more sophisticated, it will always be a mixed channel and mixed way of teaching. It will never go back to only physical education. I don't see a future where
I
it,
see.
it would be purely under the physical classroom. It has to be, you have to give this additional online tool wherein if they didn't understand anything inside the classroom, they should be able to go to their home, uh, use their tablets or laptop, go through the content again and again until unless they get the
Mhm.
concept. And I also see the job market wherein people usually don't care about your like degrees. you know they don't care whether you're an MBA, whether you're an engineer, whether you are like you have never been to a school. What matters is that how effectively you can do some job, right? And how crucial and how crucial and how important you can be for the company. That's the most important factor, like
Mhm.
not your degrees. So it's extremely important that whatever the concepts you are learning should be, you should be able to implement it in a real world. And whatever you are learning should be in a way that you are confident enough to apply it, right? So this will come only with the like two ways of teaching. Offline, if you are doing offline, it's fine, but you have to
Mhm.
use some sort of technology for sure, ever. And I see even the future wherein I'm big fan of a Star Trek. I don't know, like I don't want to like I don't want to get into battle of Star Wars and Star Trek, right? So right, so please don't hate me, Star Wars guys. Like I'm just bringing one really fascinating stuff from Star Trek, right? So when they teach their students, how they how do they teach their students? It's a simulation based environment where they have to take real time decisions which will decide the fate of a planet. And imagine the kind of learning which you got to do it. It's multiple scenarios, multiple factors, multiple variables, and you got to take a decision which will save a planet. Like, imagine,
Mhm.
right? And you can't just teach it through some books. you know it's
Right.
impossible. When I was teaching in an engineering college, we used to do this. Like, I still remember the director told me once that you should use chalk and blackboard to draw diagrams. I was like, okay, why? Like, I literally didn't get it, right?
Do you have
When
to
I can
factor in your
use
homework
the
too?
technology, when I can use the technology, when I can just show it how exactly it works, why do I have to draw it? I don't know how to draw it. Like, first of all, right? I'm not good at drawing, and if I start drawing, it will take me 30-40 minutes to draw itself. You're getting it. So all I'm saying is that the future of education would be more instant learning outcome based. You have to make real time decisions, and it's
Mhm.
going to play an extremely crucial part in any company.
So, what do you see your goal in your current company in helping achieve that future? Like, I think there's a lot of high level concepts we talked about, like having a personalized environment for students, as well as having an environment where there's like a real world application of skills versus a more theoretical version of skills. But I think the gap, even from traditional education to like jobs, is quite large. I think something along the lines of, in America at least, 80% of students don't really use their degrees formally in their current roles. How do you think society can bridge that gap
So
through your platform?
all right, okay. So it's a really good question, right? So what we are trying to do is basically create a a platform, a cloud based platform, which is easy to use, one stop, and affordable, which every educator can afford. And we are creating the whole system in a way that it will map the whole student journey, every student touch point, till the time they walk into your website and then become a graduate. and then like there would be probably alumni and a part of your alumni group, right? So we are trying to create a platform wherein we will be mapping every single thing, every single phase of a student life on a single platform, on a single dashboard. So like how exactly it is going to help you out, that you would have a single dashboard to measure the progress of your student, literally the single dashboard. You
Mhm.
can see where that student was in a particular subject, before 2 years, where he or she is now. All right, like you can actually do all those particular analysis, how exactly the students um, sentiment level has increased, decreased. You see, like, say, I'll give an example. Let's talk about something which is really really important as of now, right? So say for in at this point in time specifically, people are super stressed. Students are not able to go out of their houses, their homes, right?
Mhm.
And it's they're becoming really irritated. Like no one wants to, of course, like no one wants to be inside the home like all the times, right? And they're dealing with multiple things. And until unless you see that one student who was really really cool, right? He was or she was really really good, in all the academics, extracurricular activities, and everything. But when he or she could not go out of their home, like when they could not interact with their peer groups, how exactly that has impacted their like their day-to-day activities, their brain, their whole growth.
Mhm.
So that's extremely critical factor. And when you see something in, say, for an example, you have your TV on, you're seeing the news, you're seeing multiple news, which is impacting the brain of each and every individual, not just the students. If you
Mhm.
don't have that single dashboard wherein you can do the analysis, you know, then you're gonna make a quick decision that, hey, this student didn't perform well. But do you know the reason why that student didn't perform well in this particular
Mhm.
semester? Do you have any idea that it may be because of the hate crime which is happening? It may be because of the COVID-19. It may be because he lost his parents to coronavirus. It may be
Mhm.
multiple factors, but you really see the progress in a way that like there has to be a journey, and it should not be just the numbers, like which would define the growth of our students, right? So like our platform would be really helpful, in this particular segment, wherein you'd be able to see all the analytics on a single dashboard.
I see. And is the use case of your platform for teachers and educators to track the growth of students over the course of multiple years, or just in the scope of like one semester or two semesters?
For us, say, we provide a platform in a like our platform is completely frictionless and instant. So like any educators, they can directly go to website, sign up for it, they'll instantly get an access of education dashboard, educator dashboard, and then like they can create content, teach students. So it completely depends on you. Like, say, for example, say an educator is there who is teaching AWS, right? um, and that course is just for a month.
Mhm.
So if you are teaching corporate employees on AWS, you're like you can instantly create videos, teach them, and measure the effectiveness, right? But if you are teaching, say, um, you know an engineering students, right? An engineering student, like the effectiveness for like you have to wait for, like, say, 4 or 5 months to actually measure how much someone has like learned, or
Mhm.
in the whole semester, right? Or if you are in some course which takes a year, right? So it completely depends. Like, we are technology enabler, so we will provide a technology which is super easy to use and completely frictionless, and where educators are good. Say, for example, you are best educator in mathematics, right? But you don't know a lot of tech stuff, you don't know coding, right? You don't know integrations, right? So we have created our platform in a way that you don't need any sort of technology to use it, right? Technological background, you can just,
Mhm.
if you can use Facebook, Instagram, you can use
Mhm.
so that's where the value addition is, basically.
Okay. How'd you get the idea for this platform in the very beginning?
Right. So it's an interesting story, right? Uh, so one language trainer, like language coach, he reached out to me saying that, hey, Raj, I have this, Hindi to English coaching, class, and I have Android application, but that is a static app. Okay,
Hmm.
so one freelancer developed that particular application for me, but I lost in touch. I lost touch with him right now because he switched the job, and like he's not
Yeah.
responding. All I want is to update the content in that particular application, but I'm not able to do it,
Okay.
right? Because I don't have that access, right? And then he told me that, can you build a system wherein, like I should be able to update, every content in my application, right?
I see.
And when I saw his mobile application, Android application, I was shocked. The Android application had 1 million downloads.
Huh.
I was like, okay, 1 million downloads for a language trainer,
Right, right, right.
right? How is it even like it wasn't making sense for me, like how, right? But when I actually interacted with that, like that educator for like multiple times, I got to understand that he's doing the same thing for more than 15 years,
I see.
and he has built a content around that which will literally help his target segment. And it's not just the users from India, it's users around the world who wanted
Hmm.
to learn English from Hindi, or Hindi from English, was
Hmm.
were using his application,
Hmm.
right? And this is why I thought that, hey, he's not a techie, but he understands, he knows his shit more than like better than anyone else. And what
Hmm.
if we'll just enable, with a simple, technological solution wherein, they would be able to use it, like, and there are so many educators like them, like him, right? So there are
Hmm.
so many educators like him who can use this particular solution. So this is how I got the idea. So a lot of other educators reached out to us, saying that, can you build the same system? So we thought of building it in a cloud, for, as a cloud solution, rather than like building a separate mobile application for everyone.
Were the educators that came to you independent of each other, or were they somehow connected?
So most of them are connected, right?
Okay.
So basically, they saw the application, and then they reached out to us saying that, we want similar application, right? And once you like probably once it starts ranking on the Google or App Store or the say Play Store, people usually
Mhm.
reach out to you saying that, like they see the developer information, and they reach out to you. So that has happened.
So I do recognize you're in the relatively early stages of your business, but what would you say is the primary way so far, or what you plan to do in terms of acquiring more educators on the platform? Because I think the space of people trying to do like some form of like learning management system is fairly broad. I do think you have an interesting twist on it where you try to have the personalization component with, I guess, synchronous conversations with teachers and asynchronous surveys. But how do you plan to grow the user base?
Right. So um, it's pretty simple for us, like, so we have some success stories, we have some ideal, say, 10 customers, with, like each and every coaching service providers has at least, like they're basically number of tutor or number of teachers in their coaching service is up to 25. So it's in
Okay.
between basically 5 to 25, and they have navigated the whole, like this 6 months using only our platform. They were using
Okay.
6 to 7 tools before, but they are now just using our platform for everything. So they are the one who were benefited the most. So we want to go niche. We just want to target, those coaching service providers or educators who, like who has basically, up to 25, basically in the range of 5 to 25 teachers already have some sort of digital content,
Hmm.
or might be teaching somewhere, like somewhere else, like probably using YouTube, or taking live classes using the Zoom, or like
Hmm.
using Google Classroom, or have their own blogs or something like that. So it's so they're gonna be our prime users, and they're the one who has been maximum benefited using our platform. They have saved a lot of time. They were just paying to one tool, and they were able to, basically, increase their traction, sales, and effectiveness of teaching, using our platform. So there are 100,000 plus educators just like them. We want to focus, you know, first to them, first on that particular category, and then probably find out other niche and target them. So that's the
I
idea.
think the beauty of cloud platforms is the fact that it scales pretty well horizontally across more users. And I think that's a huge win for a lot of users when they see there's a lot of benefits they can derive, not just financially, but I guess like organizationally as well, if everything is in one place. How do you how do you plan to find these 100,000 plus like education organizations, and how do you plan to like reach out to them? Or what is your like what's your strategy been so far?
For us, so I personally believe that creating success stories is a very important factor. I would say that like you don't have to bring like 10,000 educators at one go, just doing like throwing money in customer acquisition and like Google ads and Facebook ads.
Hmm.
For me it doesn't make sense. For me, it's creating that important success stories, onboarding onboarding educators who are creating value, right, and supporting them in every possible ways which we can, right, creating a support system wherein we are going out of our way, out of our like comfort zone, and helping them, help the students, right. So that's what we are trying to do first. We are creating as many as success stories possible, and once we think that we are ready to scale, we will use digital channels, mostly 3 to 4 digital channels, right, and reach out to the same category of educators, right. So that's our major, like I think we might be using some sort of digital mediums, like probably doing a lot of webinars and seminars,
Hmm.
inviting the similar kind of educators to attend that webinar, and like we would explain them how exactly we have helped one particular say coaching service provider of that category, and what how they were actually navigating through or using, used to teach before Utobo, and what exactly, like how much value we added, like with our platform, and how exactly they're getting benefited using our platform. Once they would see the value, I think the adoption would be automatically. I'm not the guy who wants to throw out money, a lot of money in like doing marketing and like a lot of creation of
Hmm.
content which is not really adding value just to do SEO. I want to create like content. I want to create a system wherein everything is creating value for our customer base.
Are these educators available? Like, is there like a directory you can like find all these educators, or is there like a place on like LinkedIn where you can find all these people? Because I think trying to reach out to people, invite them to a webinar at scale is difficult unless you have a few central sources of all this information. Does that exist, or are you relying on your like personal networks?
Right. So I would say, like, right now it's all personal network. Right now, like,
Okay,
we are like, people are coming reaching out to us saying that, hey, can you give demo of the platform? We are giving 45 minutes 1 hour demo of the platform,
hmm,
and we are explaining them how exactly you can use your platform. We are building a lot of support content around that. But if you look at the how exactly we are going to reach out to more number of people, so there are a lot of websites. Like, you can go to builtwith.com, right? If you go to
sorry, could you repeat that URL?
builtwith,
Okay, built with, yeah, okay.
right? So if you go to builtwith, right, you can just simply find out, like, what technologies, like with people are using, right? You would get list of, say, 15,000, 20,000 customers, like, or probably who, like, target audience who are using some other platforms,
I
right?
see, I see.
Right. So it's extremely important to figure it out where your customers are going, or where your target market is. If you are tech savvy, probably you can use some sort of tools and get the whole set of audience at one place, and then
Hmm.
how, then it's completely up to you what kind of channels which you are going to use to reach out to them.
Okay, I see. Cool. Well, thanks for your time. This has been really a great conversation. I learned a lot about a new industry, and I didn't know so many of these details.
Right.
I like to usually end all of my calls with one question, the same question. What's the best way for our viewers to get in touch with you if that's something they'd want to do?
Right. So I'm pretty active in, I would say, LinkedIn. You're not, like, I'm not someone who is posting a lot or something like that. But it's just that you'd be able to always find me on LinkedIn, right? So once you're probably you are always free to send a request. I'll definitely accept the request, and then you can initiate the conversation if you want to ask me something, or if you want to partner, or if you think you have something which would be adding value to our company or our customer base. I'd be happy to have conversation.